Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier, is the Ville on its way back? Future plans for Madisonville are getting the attention of new home buyers. A popular OTR brewery is expanding. And Newport is getting into the local beer act, but with a twist. How about a new do with that brew? U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rusconi. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, a Cincinnati neighborhood that was once the retail hub for half the city is making a comeback. In the 1970s, shoppers left Madisonville, and the neighborhood fell into a long economic decline. But now some big changes have home buyers asking, what about Madisonville? The neighborhood's Madison Road anchor is still dotted by abandoned stores and vacant lots, but by next spring that could change with the help of an influx of residential development. For 7 years, the city of Cincinnati has quietly been buying up property in the heart of this mixed-race neighborhood. After spending $4.3 million, it has amassed 7.5 acres and nearly every property in the 4-block area of Madison Road and Wetzel Avenue. The city has chosen real estate developers, the Ackerman Group and St. Francis Group, to spearhead a large mixed-use development in downtown Madisonville. Jason and Tina Kunkel aren't waiting. They broke ground this month on a 2,000-square-foot house on Adelphi Street. Jason says he's confident the neighborhood will turn around.
One of the key differences is that we have more involvement and commitment from some of the businesses around town and from the city. MedPace is here now. They brought a lot of jobs. They also have an interest in helping the community and want to stay here long term. We also have Cincinnati Public Schools, which put up a new school at John P. Parker, and it's a great new building, and it's a magnet school, but it's also increased the attendance in the area.
The Kunkels aren't moving far. Tina bought a house in Madisonville 10 years ago, in part because of the affordability.
I looked for a long time in the surrounding neighborhoods in Oakley and Hyde Park, Mount Lookout, Pleasant Ridge, and wasn't finding anything that I really liked that had all of the amenities that I wanted, and happened upon the place that I'm in today on Merwin and loved it and have been here for 10 years.
And concerns about crime in the neighborhood are also being calmed by Madisonville's Community Redevelopment Corporation, which reports crime in 2014 dropped 25% from the previous year, ranking Madisonville as the city's 7th safest neighborhood. Construction on the mixed-use development may begin in early 2016, according to the city. For the full scoop on the neighborhood, be sure to read the story in the print edition. Well, a downtown-based commercial real estate development and construction company has appointed its first female president and CEO. Al Neyer's board of directors appointed Molly North to the position, effective June 1st. North is currently executive vice president and chief financial officer and will become the first female CEOs in the company's 121-year history. She will lead strategic direction, expansion to new markets, and Al Neyer's executive management team. The Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority Board voted to back the construction of a bike trail along the Oasis line. SORTA's board voted 12-1 for a resolution supporting the trail, clearing the way for Oasis Bike Trail supporters to finish raising the $4 million they believe will be necessary to build the trail and plan the route. But the Indiana and Ohio Railway Company, which has some control over the route, continues to object to the plan. The railroad controls the south set of tracks and still runs some freight along it. SORTA controls the north set, which is vacant. The railroad believes the potential bike trail's proximity to its tracks creates a safety hazard, and it is reviewing its rail property across the country to see if it can create more business using the north tracks for freight. Bethesda Butler Hospital in Hamilton is taking teleconferencing to a whole new level. Think virtual social workers. Bethesda Butler is piloting a telemedicine program that allows patients to video conference with experts at different TriHealth locations. For the past 6 months, the system has been used just by social workers and patients, but the hospital intends to have doctors use it to consult on complex cases. It's being used once or twice a week to allow patients to talk to with social workers based at Bethesda North Hospital in Montgomery. The owner of the now closed Mahogany's at the Banks has reached a deal with the Cincinnati city manager Harry Black to restructure a $300,000 loan from the city and reduce the amount she owes to $100,000. Under the deal, Liz Rogers is expected to pay $800 a month and offer a personal guarantee until the loan amount is paid in full.
It involved migrating from what I viewed as a very, very unrealistic deal structure to a structure now that is realistic, provides a path forward for her to pay the city back to the extent that she's able to afford to pay the city back.
Mahogany's at the Banks closed in September after months of failure to pay rent and loan payments. Rogers says she plans to open 2 new businesses to help pay back her restructured loan. Her attorney says she will open a food truck called Mahogany's Wing Champs and an ice cream company called Creamalicious. Over the Rhine brewery Rheingeist is embarking on a massive expansion. The plan is to triple production, add a rooftop bar and a private event space to its Elm Street facility.
We decided to take over this historic building up here, not really thinking necessarily that we'd have a lot of people come through.
The expansion is expected to open by late summer. And a new place in Newport offers a shave and a haircut with a brew. Sean Caudill, also known as Spanky the Barber, opened his old school barber shop late last week. Caudill is a licensed barber and cosmetologist. His new shop offers classic and modern haircuts, hot lather neck shaves, and a beer with each appointment.
Everyone that comes in absolutely loves it. They say, the first thing they say is they've never been anywhere like it. The experience that they're getting is there's none around here.
And Spanky the Barber, in case you're wondering, is open by appointment 5 days a week. Another new business may just provide the perfect gift for that hard-to-shop-for person. How about a doll or action figure featuring their own face? A new retailer opened its 3rd national store in the Queen City, Avastarship, at Kenwood Town Center. Business Watch producer Kelly Leon is joined by Jill Barad, Executive Chairman and CEO of Possibility Place. She previously served 19 years as chairwoman and CEO of toymaker Mattel, and that's where she got the idea for Avastars. Jill and Kelly.
Thanks, Peg. Jill, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to get to do this story with you. This is so cool. And I understand from your previous life at Mattel, that's where you kind of got this idea from working with Barbie.
Well, with Barbie, we tried to communicate to little girls that we girls can do anything, that the world is open to us and all things are possible. And the one thing that we couldn't do with Barbie was to personalize her so that the dreams and imaginings of little girls were actually reflected in the doll that they played with. So for years, I tried to find a way to personalize dolls and action figures, but technology just didn't catch up. And it was about 3 years ago, with the advent of 3D printing, that we are now able to literally make every single doll look like the person who is wanting to become whatever they want to become. So I became a fashionista because I think I'm so fashionable. But you can become a veterinarian, you can become a martial arts expert, a baseball player, a soccer player. So it goes on because dreams never end, and part of childhood is all about dreaming big.
So in terms of creating the detail, the client or the customer just brings to you, here's what I want, here's what I'm looking for, and then what do you do with that?
Well, basically they come in and they choose from an array of characters, boys and girls. And then they stand in front of a welcome screen and they literally put in the color hair they want, their eye color, their skin color, and they walk into an Avastarship, which is a transformational photo booth, and they literally get a 3D photo of themselves. They walk out, and on a 65-inch digital Jumbotron screen, there they are as the character they chose in a 3D animated video starring them, which is then downloaded onto their phone or their iPad, so they can share it with friends and family and show everybody what they would look like whatever character they chose, and then 2 weeks later they receive a doll at their doorstep.
And you just opened in the Kenwood Town Center, and on Sunday, today, you still have a special going on?
Yes, the first 50 consumers to come in will get a free doll and a free video.
Awesome.
But all consumers will get a free video.
Nice. Well, this is a fun idea. I'm sure people will take advantage. And as we send it back to Peg, I think you need to model
my
your doll.
fashionista time has come.
Let's see.
So I hope to see everybody at the Kenwood Town Center, because I will be having my doll, and hopefully you will have yours as well. So see you there.
Jill, thank you so much. Peg, back to you.
That's going to be very popular, I think. Thank you. Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, what Delta Airlines local cuts mean for business travelers. And P&G is building in Mason and moving employees from Blue Ash. We'll explain. Some news now that's getting a lot of attention on the Business Courier website and social media. Last week we told you Delta Airlines is cutting or reducing the frequency of flights to more than a dozen cities from CVG. A Courier examination of the tickets the airline has for sale online indicates the impact on business travelers may be negligible. The analysis shows the reductions may hit all at once during holiday weeks or be temporary. Delta's peak day departures from CVG will drop from 107 to 86, and it will fly to 36 cities. General Electric CEO Jeff Immelt is still clearly a Cincinnatian. The Finneytown native was in town last week speaking at the UC Economic Center's annual awards luncheon. GE's mammoth 1,800-employee Global Operations Center is being built at the banks, and Immelt's ties to Cincinnati are given the credit by many. In fact, Immelt told people sitting with him at the head table that if the site selection had come down to Cincinnati and another city, he would side with Cincinnati. Procter & Gamble will spend at least $300 million to build a massive research and development center at its Mason campus. P&G intends to move more than 1,100 employees to the new Beauty Innovation Center from its R&D operations in Blue Ash. Construction will begin this summer. iPhones, iPads, and iPods, Apple is seemingly everywhere you look. And now you'll be able to find it in one more place, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. In this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, U.S. Bank Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager Mike Denneman joins us to talk about what this recent addition means for Apple and for the Dow. He's with Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer in the studio. Right, Mike and Rob.
Peg, thanks. Mike, thanks for being here.
Good morning.
So we think of the Dow as being sort of this tired, old index filled with companies that have been around forever. Locally, GE, P&G are two companies on the Dow. Really doesn't change much. But what does Apple's being included say about the Dow? Is it now joining the new economy?
Sure. So you're exactly right. I mean, when you think of the Dow, how does that mix with Apple? Apple's cool and new. Right. The Dow is, stodgy and so, old economy. It's got industrials in the title. It sounds way more like Rust Belt than Silicon Valley. But the beauty of the Dow is that it is periodically remaking itself so that it's incorporating newer, more new economy type companies. I mean, the index itself is well over 100 years old. And it does have kind of a stodgy reputation, but it has evolved over time to include more of these new economy companies. Tech, for instance, IBM was the first one to kind of break through the barrier in the 80s, but it was really the late 90s with the boom that we saw tech really gain a foothold with stocks like Microsoft and Intel being added to the mix. So this is just another step further to keep the index very well-rounded, if you will.
And so why was Apple the choice? Maybe it's clear, but not necessarily to me, even though they're a big company.
Yeah, again, the Dow and Apple seem kind of incongruent, but when you think of Apple, it's been the dominant stock in the U.S. market over the last several years. I mean, really the last decade, it's been on quite a run, so much so that it's now the largest company in the world by market capitalization. So, if you're Dow Jones and you want to keep your index relevant, you've really got to pay attention to a stock that's the size of Apple. And really, taking a step back, it's the size that is truly mind-boggling. Its market capitalization now is about $700 billion. To put that in context, that's larger than the GDP of Switzerland. It's larger by twice the next closest stock, which is Exxon, in its own right, a huge company. Apple is now twice as big. So, again, if you are a mega cap index like the Dow and Apple is this behemoth company, it really does make some sense to put them together.
And if you have any doubts about that, you can always just Google Apple and headquarters and look at this thing they're building in California. It's like a spaceship.
Yeah.
But so you add somebody to the index, the Dow, somebody's got to go.
True.
So who's leaving?
True. Yeah. So there are only 30 spots in the index. So you're right. One in means one out, and the unlucky stock this time around is AT&T. And thinking back to this topic just a second ago, this evolution of the Dow, that makes some logical sense. I mean, AT&T, they do have a huge cellular business, of course, but when you think of Ma Bell, that's so last century, right? I mean, AT&T's been in the index almost 100 years now. So this really is a changing of the guard of sorts. It's also, oddly, not the first time recently that AT&T's been kicked out of the index. About 10 years ago, they were taken out of the Dow, and it was only via a subsequent merger that they kind of snuck in again through the back door. So for AT&T, I think the writing was pretty much on the wall there. And, really, if you think about it, in 2015, if the subject of phones come up, you probably more likely think of Apple than you do AT&T. So in that sense, it's a passing of the torch.
Absolutely. AT&T, I mean, they've grown on the backs of Apple. So thank you very much for being here. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob and Mike. Great segment. Still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, a preview of an upcoming event to help consumers and help protect themselves. And congratulations to Terry Morris, an account executive at Duke Energy, another of our 40 under 40 honorees. In this morning's Business Insight, the Great Recession has forced today's consumer to be both cautious and demanding. Changes in consumer spending behaviors and attitudes have prompted the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland and the University of Cincinnati's Carl H. Lindner College of Business to jointly sponsor an event on consumer economics here in Cincinnati. The conference is set for May and will bring together market participants, academics, and chambers of commerce to discuss trends in and implications of the changing consumer market. We are honored to have Dr. LaVon Henry, Vice President and Senior Regional Officer of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland Cincinnati office, with us here this morning. He joins Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith in the studio. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Peg. Thanks for being here today, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Give me a quick overview of what the conference is all about.
This conference is speaking about the American consumer market, why it's important, why it affects our economy, where it's going.
Okay. We talk a lot when we talk about economics and the economy. We talk about the rates, we talk about interest, we talk about gas prices, but we don't talk about the consumer that often. Why is it so important to focus on them?
The consumer is by far the most important segment in the U.S. economy. It's 70% of every dollar spent in the U.S. is a consumer-based dollar. I like to use this as an example because it really is the case. If you stripped out just the consumer segment in the American market, we as a collective segment, consumers, would still be the largest economy in the world, eclipsing every trading partner we have.
That's impressive. All right, we've got some impressive speakers that are going to be speaking at this event. Who are some of them?
Well, if you don't mind, I have to go to my list because
don't want to leave anybody out.
Exactly. We have former executives from Procter & Gamble, Centrifuge, our local business incubator, UC College of Business, UC Lindner's College of Business. Federal Reserve President sits on the Open Market Committee. National Retail Federation's Chief Economist. Deloitte, PNC's Chief Economist. Kroger, local here in town. Gallup organization will be coming in from D.C. to give the keynote luncheon address. We also have Nielsen Ratings, speaking of the importance of the diverse consumer market. UC Health, speaking to us about the patient as consumer. dunnhumby, local firm made international presence, is talking about the importance of consumer analytics. And we also happen to have this small little firm from out west in Silicon Valley that you may have heard of, maybe not, called Facebook. Coming
I think
in
I've been on there a couple times.
Exactly. So we've got Facebook, and we also will likely have some additions before we go live in May.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, in addition to the Federal Reserve Bank and University of Cincinnati Lindner College of Business, and of course we as media partners, who else is involved in this conference?
This is truly a yeoman's work. We have multiple local chamber of commerce supporting us at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland and the University of Cincinnati's Lindner College of Business in the planning and the execution. Some of those chambers being the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, Westchester Liberty Chamber, Covington Chamber, Claremont Chamber, and others.
So we're getting everybody in the whole in the
region. We're getting everyone in the region. And the one question you may have a question about is, why Cincinnati? Why consumers? Because Cincinnati, as we all know, is the heart of consumerism, not just in America, but worldwide, with that little place down the street called Procter & Gamble.
Exactly.
That's it.
Well, then you got a few other players there with Kroger down the street, Macy's down the street. Like you said, dunnhumby building their big new building here, and their whole job is to study consumers. So
this is it.
I can't wait to hear some of those. Well, I know we're going to have on the screen the information. They're charged to attend. It's for a full day, correct?
It's for a day and a half if we actually look at our welcoming reception, which we have on May 5th from 6 to 8. Food will be served and refreshments will be served. And we also have a full day conference with luncheon, with breaks, with continental breakfast on Wednesday, May 6th. And as we all know, nothing of value goes for free. But I will tell you, this is pretty close to free.
Names like what you just put out, definitely
for
worth
$130, and that includes parking.
That's great.
$130 includes parking and a day and a half of information that you can use. This is not just an academic conference. It is targeted to the practitioner.
Well, good.
To get that senior executive, that business leader, that small business owner, that young professional engaged in this consumer
economy. That's why the Courier is involved, because we know it's important to business leaders here in Cincinnati. We appreciate you guys taking a leadership role, and I look forward to the conference on May 4th and 5th.
May 5th and 6th.
All right, thanks for being here.
He's so eager.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie, and thank you for your help.
Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. That is a blockbuster event. And thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning at 6:30 here on Local 12 and 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, you can visit the Business Courier online and sign up for daily emails and follow on Twitter and Facebook. The address is CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. I'm Peg Rasconi. Have a great Sunday.